I'd like to call the order of the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners. Today's Thursday, May 1st, 2025. It's 9:00 a.m. Action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruptions, please place cell phones and beepers in the silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments, but may not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. Board of County Commissioners convene as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Line Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting may convene as any one of those boards as indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. Note this meeting may break between 11:30 and 1:30 for lunch, and we are going to go into a closed session at around 9:30. So all the commissioners are here in chambers. We'll go to the invocation given by Gary Least of the Calvary Chapel, Dayton Valley, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance given by Commissioner Jacobson. So please remain standing.
Good morning and greetings in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I join you this morning from the second annual Governor's Prayer Breakfast, where we've been given the honor of speaking and praying for our county, our state, and our nation. Gathered this morning here at the state capitol are faith leaders from across the state, elected officials, and the governor of the state of Nevada, Joe Lombardo, all gathered for a time of prayer and seeking the blessings of our Lord and God. On this National Day of Prayer, we've gathered to lift up those who serve in our elected offices, along with all of the citizens of our great state. We're praying for you and for your continued faithfulness and diligence, and to those who have placed their trust in you to represent them. So let us pray. Lord, we come to you this day and we cry out for your wisdom. We know that there will be no success in our endeavors, Lord, unless we seek first your divine guidance. So today we humble ourselves before our King, asking for your hand to be on all that we attend to. May we be endowed with your wisdom, knowledge, mercy, and grace. May we seek to employ your justice and righteousness to every decision, always holding up the principles found in your Holy Scripture. And Lord, we ask for your hand of deliverance from the evil that seeks to destroy the blessing that you granted upon this nation and state, the blessing upon a nation who recognizes you as our God. And this day and every day, we come imploring your hand of protection and provision upon our elected officials. May they look for your wisdom, guidance, and especially your strength to stand for what is right and what is just as they administer their offices. Lord, we pray for their health, their well-being, not only for them, but for their families and loved ones, that your hand of protection would bless and keep them. These things we pray on behalf of the people of our country, our state, and our nation. Lord, praying in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This brings us to public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda item, action item, but before the board takes any action. Do we have any public participation? Seeing none, for possible action, review and adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks. Is there any comment, public comment? Seeing none, go to the vote. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Vote passes 5-0. Brings us to number 6. Commissioners, County Manager reports. I'll start from my right this time and go with Commissioner Alcaday.
Had one meeting this last week or so. And that was with a representative from the Langdon Group, and they were representing the Walker Basin Conservancy. And discussions were basically involving issues for the watershed, industries that are moving in both Mason Valley and Smith Valley, and the issues that people are concerned with, the needs for the people who live here, the water needs, and the ecology of the area. It was a very good meeting. They wanted my input on what I believed were my constituents' concerns, and I made those very clear. And they will take that back and discuss it and see what type of input that we will have into any of the industries that are coming into our water basin.
Commissioner Casanelli.
Thank you, Chair. Had the opportunity to tour our roads department and facilities department and the shop. Was pretty neat. I hadn't had an opportunity to get around too much to visit with some of our staff out there, but got a pretty good tour on those locations. I attended a ribbon cutting for the Pure Water filtration company in Dayton. It's always great to celebrate new businesses moving into our area. And I attended the Dayton Valley Conservation District board. The contracts for the bank stabilization are moving along, still getting some permits issued, but it's on track to be started this fall. And they're beginning weed abatement for the season. Attended the Western Nevada Development District Building a Stronger Nevada conference. Got a lot of good information on grants for infrastructure and the Main Street revitalization programs that they sponsor. Attended the Campo sponsored Highway 50 East, the study that they were doing, the complete street study has been completed, so they released some of those results, and we got to take a look at some preliminary. We've got some short-term projects, including a crossing, a lighted crossing, and maybe some traffic lights that may happen in the short term, which short term in NDOT's window is 2 to 5 years, but you know, it's moving along. The crack filling project is underway. We're about in the heart of Dayton right now, so that's trudging along. Also attended a meeting with some of the development community in Dayton. Still having a lot of concerns with the effluent capacity, so I know staff's working on that. Just can't stress the urgency on that enough. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Hendricks.
I attended the Quad Counties Legislative Committee meeting, and we're still tracking several bills through the legislature. And following that, I met with Josh Foley, our comptroller, to get a better understanding of the different funding streams and what money can go where. Just felt like I needed a better education as we're dealing with this tight budget. Attended the National Nevada Association of Counties Board of Directors meeting, and a lot of what we talked about there also had to do with the legislative session. And then met with Dr. Shayla Holmes the director of our human services, to talk to her about federal funding and what's happening in Washington and how that's going to affect our county.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair Keller. Participated in the first meeting for the Lyon County Fire Blue Ribbon Committee. There's 8 or so folks on that, as they continue to work to get back on their full feet, I guess. Part of the Boys and Girls Club fundraising effort, I think we raised Saturday close to around $30,000. So that was a very productive fundraiser, even though the weather did not cooperate and kept a bunch of people out, but still it was a great event. Met with city officials of Fernley and Boys and Girls Club on the lease agreement. Hopefully we're moving forward there. Met with developers in the Dayton area, listened to their concerns. And finally, I would like to wish good luck to all those folks and especially the youth on the upcoming big game draw.
Thank you. Well, I attended the Clark County Legislative Committee and with the NACO General Board meeting in Nevada. And basically, we're talking more about the legislative things that are happening. I wish I could tell you more about it. It's mostly a lot of talking. We'll talk about some of it on our agenda today, but there's amendments and there's stuff that's just going through and we don't know what we're up against yet. I know on the national side of it, I attended the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Steering Committee, and what we're working on that is the SRS funding, which is Secure Rural Schools, and PEP funding. But there's a lot of stuff that's happening right now with the budget reconciliation. They're talking about that's gonna they're trying to get it done by Memorial Day, but I think it's going to be July by the time it actually gets done. So that to me, that's going to mean that we're going to have another special session, probably 2, with our governor, because we don't know what's coming back down to the state yet. So it's going to be a little. I wish I had more information, but we're just not there right now. And I think that's all I have. So, County Manager, Mr. Haskins.
Good morning, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. Been pretty busy around here. So last week I attended a Quad County Integrated Emergency Management training that was put on by FEMA in Carson City. It was a really good training, focusing mostly on exercises, dealing with emergency management. Really proud of our team and our performance there. Did really good. We had a kind of a smaller group compared to some of the other counties. I know Douglas County, I think they sent like 50 people. But it was really good. Learned a lot there. And so really want to thank Taylor Allison, our emergency manager, for helping to coordinate that and applying for that program. Let's see, I've been working on the NNIC GID. I have a meeting this afternoon with both NNIC and NV Energy to kind of talk that through a little bit more. So I know the board had asked for updates when I have meetings with that. And so that is going to be taking place after the meeting today. I've also been working on the CPACE thing. However, that has taken a little bit more time than anticipated. I know when we had that meeting, I had said 4 to 6 weeks. But due to some of the other projects that we were also working on, that's going to take me a little bit more time there, but we are still making progress on that. I've got a meeting next week for Human Services. We're doing, actually there's a couple meetings for their working on their strategic plan for the upcoming 5 years. So we'll be doing that. And then finally, just a reminder for the citizen advisory boards, we have our citizen advisory board training on Saturday at 9 a.m. in Silver Springs. So we'll be touching on open meeting law, the citizen advisory board handbooks, and some planning issues. So in years past, we had invited other organizations to get some of that open meeting law training. However, we are asking that it just be Lyon County boards at this time. Last year, we got several specific legal questions for the various boards. We can't give legal advice, and so talking it over with the district attorney, we felt it was probably better just to keep that to the Lyon County boards this year. So happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on to elected officials reports. Do we have any elected officials? Deputy?
Commissioners, Commander Ryan Powell for the record. Just a few things I want to share with you this morning. One of the goals of the sheriff is to use inmate work crews to work around the county and help with various cleanup projects and stuff like that, specifically at parks, county grounds and stuff like that. So last month now, today is April 1st or May 1st. We participated in the Smith Valley Cemetery cleanup as well as the mayor's clean sweep up in Fernley, and used inmate work crew up there. It was very successful. They got a lot of work done, and it's been a really positive program. So we actually have stuff in the works to continue to do that and kind of broaden that program a little bit. So if there's areas in your district that you're concerned about, we try to keep it focused on public areas or county owned areas. And there's a few parameters attached to that, but give me a call and we'll set that up for sure. So I just want to let you guys know about that. I do want to invite you guys to, speaking of tours, Mr. Casanelli, I love to give tours of the jail. So I know that's an area of the sheriff's office that is a huge part of the budget, and it's a big part of the sheriff's office. And so if you guys are interested and would you like to come by and see how the jail operates, those functions inside the sheriff's office that don't really get reported on, and we don't there's not a whole lot of stuff going on in there that's relatable to the public. It'd be a great opportunity for you guys to come in. So let me know. And I know Mr. Hockaday does the inspections every quarter, and there's some projects that we're working on and stuff in there. So I'd love to have you guys over to see that. So that would be real positive. And then SAR Bingo happened. Very big success, raised some money for Life Fest. And so that program is hugely successful in getting free Life Vests to children that want them. So after a drowning that happened 15 years ago, this year out at Lyon, they have strived to put this event on. And every year they use this fundraiser to purchase Life Vests and then in turn hand them out to families at Lyon and all around the county. But specifically, they're out there on Memorial Day weekend. And so that was a very good event, and we were excited about that. So all kinds of other stuff going on at the sheriff's office. Things are good, things are positive. But today is the Nevada State Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, which is held in Carson City. And so as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to go change uniforms and then drive to Carson City and attend that event. This is the statewide event, so you may have seen the runners come through our county this week. They run with a baton from Las Vegas all the way up north through different counties, and then end this morning or this afternoon they'll end at the event in Carson at the legislature there. And so interesting to note, this year is the first year I can remember in my career of 23 years that we have not put a name on the wall. And so praise God for that. There's been no deputies or officers killed in the line of duty, and we have not had to put any names on the wall for that. So that's awesome. That's a really good thing. And so this year is a different year. It's just it's got a positive note to it. Tomorrow is another memorial. That's the Hoff Memorial, which is held in Reno. They have a separate memorial up there, and that is geared towards giving what we call survivor medals to officers that have been involved in shootings, have been attacked, various situations, heroic type situations. And so we'll have a contingent of personnel at that as well. So lots of stuff going on, but that's the report. So I'll take any questions.
Any questions? Commissioner Jacobson?
Thank you. Just appreciate everything you folks, men and women, do for us and keeping us safe. That's
Commissioner Hockaday?
Thank you for being out there last month for the cleanup with the jail crew. Appreciate that. And also I'll be seeing you for my quarterly inspection real soon.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, and I appreciate the invitation. I'll reach out and see if we can schedule something for you to take me to jail. So,
There you go.
thank you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for the invites. Do we have any more elected officials reports? Seeing none, I will recognize we got a statistics report from the Dayton Township Justice Court in our packets. Brings us to appointed officials reports. Any appointed officials? Mr. Foley.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. I just wanted to remind the board that we do have a final budget meeting on May 27th at 9 a.m. So just want to make sure we keep that on your calendars. The other piece of that is, at this point, I don't have any further information that would change anything on the final budget as far as dollar wise. If the board has any desire to make those changes, we can definitely do it at the time of the final budget, or if you have something specific, you can perhaps agendize it on the 15th agenda, so we have that discussion prior to it. So I just want to bring that up. The second item that I have for you today is the Dayton Government Complex. We should, within the next couple of weeks, be at 100% design on the architectural of that. We have evaluated and done some research on whether to have a contractor bring a contractor contract to you to review those drawings. When we've talked to the development community, what we're getting the recommendation back from them and other entities are to perhaps use a construction manager at risk, which is a CMAR process. That process would be, we go out to a formal request for proposal for the project to the construction industry as a CMAR process. They come in and they bid it. You don't have to take the lowest bid. You can take the most responsive bid. There are a number of factors that you grade it on, but that construction manager at risk, each one of them, you're going to have a whole slew of contractors potentially bidding on that. They're going to come in, they're going to evaluate the drawings. They're going to say, I can do this for a not to exceed price of X. And you can get that from a number of them. And then you have a panel that goes through, evaluates all of those and brings back the recommendation to the board on, we recommend that you do this. And then you have a maximum guaranteed price for that. Any change orders that happen should happen within that maximum guaranteed price, unless it's something we request and say, you know what, we should have added X and we didn't put that in the drawings. And we of course bring those to the board. So please expect that on the next either the 15th or the first meeting in June for us to get something together for your consideration to authorize that process. I'm working on an RFP document. Wouldn't be on the agenda. The concept would be on the agenda if you want to proceed that manner. But that is what is being recommended to us based on the current market out there. We think we'll get a significant amount of interest in the CMAR process, and there are a lot of benefits to do it. We originally used that process to build the Lyon County Justice Complex when we built it, did the original construction.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more appointed officials reports? Seeing none, I do want to comment that there's a report from the Lyon County Community Development Department summarizing current code enforcement activity, including statistics on case volume, types of violations, compliance rates, and ongoing enforcement efforts, and an update on current projects, as well as statistical data relating to building permits and planning applications for the month of April in our packets. Brings us to number 9, advisory boards. Any advisory board reports? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda. Is all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of Commissioners with one action and without an extensive hearing. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that a item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during this meeting. And I would like to remove K and M for discussion.
I'd like to pull 10L.
Oh, okay, L was gonna be. Yep. I was gonna request to pull 10L, sorry.
Did you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah, could we pull 10E as well?
Do you guys want anything pulled? Any from the public want pulled? Yeah, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, but what were those first two pulled again?
M, L, and E.
A, M, L, N, E. Chairman Keller, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, pulling 10E, 10L, 10K, 10M. From the consent agenda.
Second.
Good motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Any public comment? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. So let's go ahead and start with the first one would be 10E.
And I'm not questioning it, I just with it being $4.5 million or about that.
Let me go ahead and read that.
Oh, sorry.
And for possible action, approve in the local contract amendment with Nevada Division of Health Financing and Policy and Nevada Division of Welfare and Supportive Services in the amount not to exceed $4,484,650.61 to pay non-federal share of the cost of aged, blind, and disabled recipients in institutional care and clients eligible for state waiver services related to independent living. Do we have anybody that can speak on this?
Dr. Holmes is online.
So, hi, Dr. Holmes, thank you. Chairman Keller, in the financial department comments, it says this still caps the county amount at 8 cents, which is $1,938,624 in the fiscal year 2025-26. Is that money there, or is that where does our share come out of exactly?
Dr. Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services. For the record, this may be Josh Foley question to answer as far as where the funding comes from. I mean, it is required by statute that we provide our up to 8-cent match for the long-term care Medicaid match program per NRS, but we are not at our 8-cent cap yet. And so that is an up to amount based off of actual billing that comes in quarterly from the state that we review, verify that they are Lyon County residents, and then submit invoices for processing.
Fully.
Josh Boyer, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So we currently levy a tax rate in the medical indigent fund that covers our current cost for medical indigent or the Medicaid match, and which is limited to 8 cents. Right now, we're only levying 5 cents of what we're allowed to levy. We moved 3 cents into the general fund because during ARPA, the federal government was covering a lot of that. It may change over the next few years, but that's where the money is coming from.
That's what I thought. All right.
Thank you. Any questions?
Chairman Keller, I'll make a motion that we approve 10E as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. That brings us to 10K. Accept a donation of a tree and installation worth $500 to be planted in Santa Maria Park in the memory of K. Winters from the Desert Gardens Club of Carson City. The reason why I was pulling that is I didn't have a lot of information in there about what that was. As far as it looked like there were questions from the garden club of what type of tree and that kind of thing.
Once the facility director for the record, I thought I'd bring it to you guys to see if you're up the donation. Then I'll go back to them and answer the questions.
Okay.
And we're also meeting with the
Something we approved for the master plan Friday, do a walkthrough through the park, and of course, we wouldn't have them plant something where we have to tear it out again. So
That would be,
I thought we should find out if you want to accept the donation, and if you do, then I'll find out we'll let you know what type of tree we want and where it's gonna go and all that information they wanted. Which I guess she was the president of that group for a while and they wanted to do something for her.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Chair. So this tie into existing irrigation and watering systems, or is,
Yeah, we'll put it somewhere where we have water available and stuff. We'll find out more through this planning process where the stuff's gonna go.
Yeah, that was my concern, is more or less of what was the maintenance and everything else, and what kind of tree, and
Yeah.
there was just nothing there, so. Oh, you know. The monkey puzzle tree. Any questions? Any questions from the audience? Okay, I'll make a motion to accept 10K as presented.
Second.
A motion from Commissioner Keller, second by Commissioner Huckabee. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
was,
Brings us to 10L for possible action, approve renewal agreement with Westlaw for legal research subscription for the district attorney's office for a 3-year term at the rate of $2,376 per month for the first year, $2,447.28 per month for the second year, and $2,520.70 per month for the third year, and authorize the county manager to sign amendments to reduce the monthly amount based on the attorneys in the district attorney's office using the service based on actual staffing levels.
Yeah.
Steve Rye, District Attorney.
I just pulled this because I was looking at this and it seemed like this is an item that might be really well suited to AI and using that. And I just wanted to know if we look into that at all, to use AI for research.
Yes, we have looked into that a little bit, and this contract does include an AI component.
Okay,
And that's why you see an increase in the new contract, because it does include an AI piece. They offer other AI services that are quite a bit more expensive that we opted not to include at this time.
okay.
And so the agreement you're approving will have AI capability to a
Okay.
limited extent.
I just wanted to make sure we're doing it the cheapest and most efficient way. So thank you.
Yeah, it is. I know it is an expensive cost, but it is standard now. Most of the legal research is done electronically.
Okay,
I did have one change too on this agreement. It's not substantive, but as you see in the agreement, because we got this AI product, they give us 6 months at the existing rate. Otherwise, the contract would renew July 1. Because it's approved in May, the bridge term is only 5 months. So on page 1 of the agreement, about halfway down, you see the bridge products. That is a reduced rate for this new product we've agreed to get. It says 6 on the packet, it should be 5. And so that we'll just have Mr. Chair Keller sign that agreement, that change. There's no change in the price, no change in anything other than that bridge term. And this is included in the tentative budget.
Chairman Keller,
Go ahead, Commissioner Hendricks.
move to approve item 10L as presented.
Do I have a second?
second,
Motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
10 for possible action, approve up to $20,000 of park construction tax funds for the Dressler Park Arena for the installation and spreading of additional soil to make the arena safe for the horses and riders. This was approved by the Smith Valley Park and Recreation Board at their April 7th, 2025 meeting. I pulled this for a procedural reason, and I'm going to make a motion to table this to another meeting. But the reason why I'll be making that motion is if you go to the recommended motion from the Citizens Advisory Board, it says that they approve spending. They don't approve anything out of that board. That's a advisory board. So they shouldn't be approving anything. And what we don't want is in the county of getting approvals of different things, like in planning, if they approve something, it shouldn't people can move forward with an approval. So it should be a recommendation. And it says for their remaining budget, it's not their budget, they don't have a budget, it's the county's budget. So I just want a clarification on what that advisory board's doing. But then we also carried it over to the agenda and said that we are approving, that we're stating on there that this was already approved by the Smith Valley Park and Recreation Board. And so it shouldn't have been approved, it should have been it shouldn't be agendized like that, it should be a recommendation. So that's why I want to move it out and, but so that we don't end up in a lot.
Chairman Keller, this is a safety issue, so the verbiage on this, whether you agree with the verbiage on this or not, we can't leave the soil the way it is in the arena and allow anybody to be injured because the horses are and are injured. So, as much as we may not agree with the language, we have to look at this as a safety issue and not proceed on their own using the arena every Saturday. And we must get that soil to a point where it's safe to use in that arena.
Chair Keller,
Commissioner Castanelli.
just a question of clarification. Is that motion that you're talking about, did that come from the Smith Valley Advisory Board or from the Smith Valley Park and Rec Board?
It came from Smith Valley Park and Rec Board.
Okay. And they don't have a budget?
No, it's the county's budget.
Right, but I mean, the park board, like,
Park Construction Fund.
right, okay. So I understand that the advisory board does not, but the park, I thought the park board was a little different.
If I may, on that, the approval, since I was at the meeting, the approval was that originally they were looking at 15,000 because of the volunteer services that were going to come in, transporting the material from Honeywell and other organizations. So what had happened is they said, well, they different construction companies that were going to volunteer are too busy and can't volunteer right now, so we're going to have to pay them to bring in this material. So the approval was to go from 15 to 20 instead of, sitting with the 15. So that's kind of where the approval language came in, is to up it by 5 so that we could get this done quickly.
Andrew Haskett, Lyon County Manager. So to clarify, for Commissioner Castanelli, the Park Board is an advisory board, so that is correct. They don't have authority over the budget. So they do make a recommendation to the county commission. As far as the wording, that's up to the board. I would just ask if that's the direction that you choose to go. Do you want it remanded back to that board, or how just worded different on ours? I just need a little clarification if that's what you want to do.
Well, let me talk to our Mr. Rye if he's still our legal counsel. Can we move forward with this? I don't want to set precedents. That's my, I want to talk to us at a legal way that I'm not trying to stop the project. I just want to make sure that we're doing it right.
My concern, at least the Fogle Deputy District Attorney, and I've been listening to what you've been talking about, and I think it's actually a good idea to table it to get the language in the agenda item correct, because it doesn't seem to me to be correct. So I think you're better off tabling it and just have it state something like it should be the recommendation of the Smith Valley District. Is that the question? Essentially, I'm hoping that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were doing it legally. That's,
You should.
even though it's a good project, in my opinion.
I think you should.
Okay. Any other comment?
Doug Lumps, the facility director, for the record. I don't think there are any assumption that it's their money that they can spend any way they want. They know that has to come to you guys. And And now let's just put it off a couple months down the road, because they have a meeting next week, I believe it is.
Right.
So it's too late to get agendized probably. And that's all I have to say.
Is it, does it need to go back to them, or is this just a wording on our part?
They've already been approved for $15,000 last year. Or in the spring, I can't remember exactly when it was, do you remember? And that was enough money, because now they don't have the donated labor, so they wanted to increase it by $5,000, but they are using the arena. And we're just trying to keep people from getting injured.
First, I guess my question was, should this then be for $5,000? If we've already approved 15,000, it'd be like we're approving 35,000.
Right, that's what,
So it sounds like we're looking at approving 5,000 if 15,000 has already been approved.
And Elisa Fuller, again, Deputy District Attorney. In fact, that should also be included in the agenda item, talking about what has been approved. And I don't think you need to take it back to the Smith Valley group. I think you just need to reword your agenda item for this group.
Commissioner Hendricks.
So this could just come back at our next meeting with a different wording on the agenda item, and we could just get it on through.
100%.
Okay.
Next meeting.
So could they, in theory, get started with the 15,000 if that's possible? And
Have we approved that part already? Is that what we're saying? We've approved the $15,000 portion of it?
Mhm.
Then I don't see why we couldn't.
Mr. Holmes, can you do that? Yeah. Mr. Homestead.
I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know. I assume they could get started on it. And bring the $5,000 back at the next meeting.
I'm not hearing a bunch of, it's an agenda item, so we can talk about it, but I'm not seeing a bunch of people saying they're against the project. It's just the wording of the agenda.
Exactly right.
And that's how I received it on the transmittal, so that's how I can't change their transmittal.
Okay,
That's how I worded it in the motion.
so I think they could get going, or you could tell them to get going, but my motion is to bring it back. So
for the 5,000.
yeah, properly.
John, I think you should also talk about the 15 having already been approved. And then this is, just be real clear about it. That's all we care about, is that you're real clear.
So if I make the motion to bring this back with clarity, can the county manager bring that back with everything that's been discussed today? So I'll make that motion that I just said. Do I have a second?
1 second.
Motion by Commissioner Keller, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye. 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 Those against?
No,
So those against would be Commissioner Honkaday. And passes 4-0.
4-1.
4-1, excuse me. Okay, this time I'm gonna call a recess. About how long should this recess be? We can always show up later.
Let's say 30 minutes.
Okay, we're gonna recess for 30 minutes to go into closed session. All right, we'll continue with the Board of County Commissioners. We're on item 11A for possible action, approve a contract with Paul Calvin Architect LLC for professional design services for the Justice Complex secure parking lot expansion for a total fee of $62,500. Mr. Foley.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record. This is a proposal to increase the amount of secure parking that we have at the Justice Complex. It would involve tying the library parking lot with the Justice Complex parking lot, putting in some additional gates and fencing and handicap parking, those type of things. And so this would be the architectural. It would be paid out of the public safety sales tax that's in the capital improvements fund.
Do we have any questions? From the public? Public comment? Bring it back to the board. Do we have a motion?
Chair Keller, I make a motion to approve a contract with Paul Calvin, Architect LLC for the professional design services for the Justice Complex secure parking lot expansion for a total fee of $62,500.
Second. And a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to 12A. For possible action, approve intrastate interlocal agreement between the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, and the Lyon County District Attorney Child Support Division for the period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029, with the state agreeing to pay $2,651,519 to Lyon County for the provision of child support services. Mr. Wright.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioner Stephen Rye, District Attorney. This comes before you today. It's an agreement that's done periodically with the state of Nevada. I know there's some commissioners that maybe weren't on the board last time it was done. Just a little bit of history about the program. The federal government's been involved with child support since the 50s. In 1975, President Ford signed the 4D amendment to the Social Security Act that authorized funding from the federal government to assist states and local governments and others in collecting child support. And part of the reason for that was an increase in public assistance. So part of the program is recouping when public assistance is paid out to support children. And then the other part of the program, which is adapted later, allows anybody with children to come forward and request services to assist in gaining child support. So Lyon County has done that for many decades. Through the district attorney's child support office. I know you've heard from them before on a few different issues, but they do a good job for the county and more importantly for parents and children in Lyon County collecting child support. You can see this is a large dollar amount of a large grant that funds about 2/3 of the county operation. And then the county funds 1/3. This is all calculated in the budget, the tentative budget that was approved for 25-26, and the funding does go to, for Lyon County, we only do cases that are not public assistance. About 15 years ago, the county transferred the public assistance cases to the state of Nevada. And so we only deal with cases that do not involve public assistance now. We handle about 900 cases in the child support office. There's 5 employees in the office. Just for informational purposes, last year, the office assisted in collecting $3,601,000 in child support that was paid to parents and other guardians across the country and across Lyon County. This year so far, there's been collections through March 31st of $963,000. So they are collecting a lot of money that's helping families. We're asking that this agreement be approved. It's a standard agreement. It's rather long, lots of attachments that you see, but it's very similar to the agreements that have been approved previously. There was one change that I'll bring to the board and public's attention. Exhibit I, they removed one of the executive orders that no longer applies. And I believe that's based on some of President Trump's executive orders. Other than that, the agreement, we would ask that you approve the agreement as presented.
Do we have any questions? Any questions from the public? Bring back to the board. We have a motion.
Move to approve the intrastate interlocal agreement between the Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Welfare and Supportive Services, and the Lyon County District Attorney Child Support Division for the period July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2029, with the state agreeing to pay $2,651,519 to Lyon County for the provision of child support services.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to 12B for possible action, approve engagement with McDonald Law Firm to provide legal services to Lyon County for complex zoning, planning, and community development issues.
Steve Rye, District Attorney. Several months ago, or maybe prior to that, Gavin Henderson had asked about possibly having additional legal assistance with some of the more complex land use cases and planning issues. And so we had some discussions about that, included the county manager, and it was agreed that we would approach Chris Molina, who works for the McDonald Carano firm and has a lot of experience in that area, also provides assistance to the city of Fernley. And see if he might be available to assist with some of those more complex issues. And he was willing to do that. And so we're asking that the board consider that today to have them available as an additional resources for the community development department to assist on some of these more complex issues that come up with land use. The DA's office has historically done that, but over the last several years, it's been more difficult given other obligations in the office for us to do that. Also, as things become more complex, it's more of a specialized expertise. And I believe the county would benefit from having some of that specialized legal expertise. So the DA's office does support this. We would ask that you approve it. I do think that the county manager and Mr. Henderson might have a few comments before you make a decision on what you want to do. So.
Thank you, Steve. Gavin Henderson, Lyon County Community Development Director. So just wanted to concur with what Steve mentioned. This is just to allow the community development part access to specific legal services related to land issues and those complex development topics. Some planning applications that come off the top of the head or those planning development agreements, reimbursement agreements, inherently that'll provide a level of expertise needed towards those documents, and it'll also facilitate an expedited review process when we get those applications pushed through as quickly as possible. I do want to note that community development also put out a notice for a legal review fee that'll be included on certain application types. That notice was sent to all the chambers of commerce in Lyon County as well as in the Northern Nevada Builders Alliance. We have no comments as of today regarding that additional fee. It will be set up as the engineering review fees are currently, so it'll be a pass-through cost. The county would pay the initial fee and then would be reimbursed by the applicant. That is kind of what the intention as far as paying that legal review fee is. We've probably set up a separate fund for one meeting a month with Chris Molina, just on the county behalf to discuss, just have a standing to discuss certain topics related to his services. But outside of that, that's kind of what we're anticipating.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So Steve may have mentioned it. Mr. Molina was going to be present for the meeting today. However, he had to jump off because he had another meeting that he had to take at 11. So, I think this is a good thing. I think this will relieve some of the pressure off the district attorney's office and help speed up some of the legal review of some of the more complex issues that the community development department faces. Happy to answer any additional questions the board may have.
I got one. On the fiscal, you're saying that it's a pass through. But are we doing anything fiscal to get it started, or this engagement? What does that cost us?
So the Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So the engagement does signing the engagement letter won't cost us anything. It'll be billed as we use those services. I know as Director Henderson mentioned, they have put out a business impact statement, which is the first step in changing or increasing a fee. And so I believe that's going to be on the next.
The business impacts.
Yeah, the business impact statement will be on the next agenda, and then the fee will be on the first meeting in June for the fee resolution. So they're working on that. So it shouldn't have any immediate impact.
So we're not doing a retainer type thing. It's just a straight agreement. Okay, that's all I have.
And Steve Rye, District Attorney, that I know the budget's a big issue and we'll certainly monitor that with Josh. There will undoubtedly be some charges that can't be passed through. The plan initially that would be coming out of the DA's budget or the county legal services, certainly monitoring it to make sure that it doesn't become excessive. We don't anticipate that would be excessive, But the meeting, for instance, that Gavin mentioned, that would not be assigned to any particular person, probably. It's more for the benefit of community development. There will be some little things like that. We'll manage closely, work with Josh to make sure that it's all within the approved budget.
Thank you. Any questions? Any public comment? Bring back to the board for a motion.
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion to approve an engagement with Donald Corona Law Firm to provide legal services to Lyon County for complex zoning, planning, and community development issues.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jacobson, seconded by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. 12C for possible action, approve settlement agreement and release of all claims made by Christopher K. Miller, Lyon County Sheriff Employee Association and Lyon County.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Stephen Rye, District Attorney. Come before you today with an agenda item to approve a settlement agreement on a personnel matter. And the agreement, I have the agreement available to provide to the board and the public. Copy presented out on the table outside, and basically just sets forth the settlement agreement. Also present on Zoom is Rick Shue. He was the attorney representing the county in the matter. And the request today is that you would approve the settlement agreement as presented.
Do we have any questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Chair Keller, I'll make a motion to approve settlement agreement and release of all claims made by and among Christopher K. Miller, Lyon County Sheriff's Employee Association in Lyon County.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been motion by Commissioner Jacobson, second by Commissioner Huckabee. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Brings 13, Human Resources, approved plans for health employee dental, vision, and life insurance coverage effective July 1st, 2025, and authorize the Human Resources Director to sign associated contracts. No.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. Colleen Unterbrink, Human Resources Director for the record. Here to present the renewal for our employee health, vision, dental, and life insurance. Every year, we partner with our broker, John Carlson, in order to obtain the best renewal rates possible while providing comprehensive benefits for our staff. Maintaining desirable benefits helps us retain and attract new employees. This year, we were very successful in negotiating our rates, and we are presenting a 5% increase to our health insurance plan for medical, along with a 0% increase for dental, 0% to vision, and 0% increase for life insurance. As in previous years, we first presented the renewal rates to our employee insurance committee before bringing these to you today. This year, the committee unanimously recommended that the Board of County Commissioners approve the proposed rates. And with that, I'm here to answer any questions.
Do we have any questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none, bring back to the board for motion.
Move to approve plans for employee health, dental, vision, and life insurance coverage effective July 1st, 2025, and authorize the Human Resources Director to sign associated contracts.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Huckabee, second by Commissioner Hendricks. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. 14, Clerk Treasurer for possible action, approve a contract with the Nevada Secretary of State through June 30th, 2026 to support costs and require services to procure a voter registration database and election management system.
Stacy Lindbergh, Lyon County Clerk Treasurer for the record. Good morning. So this was the interlock agreement. The state went in, it started back in 23. Because it was implemented, I believe, and voted in 21, but the implementation of it started in 23. We didn't get it to go live until 25.
So that's why you'll see on the contract, the 6 months, meeting our fiscal years for our costs. So this is the agreement that's gonna start, payment will be due in July. And it's an annual payment, and our portion of the services are set out by the percentages of voters in our county. You'll see that Clark County isn't included in this interlock agreement because they were previously on the system, so they weren't brought in until this year. They should be in this year, and they do represent about 70% of the voters in our state. So I'm hoping that next year our cost goes down because this is about a 45% increase to what we were paying. But we are promised a lot more security, user friendly. We did use the poll pads and stuff in our last election and it went really well. So I think we can get better reports and more tracking and some more information on elections through this new system as well as the security. So I'm here to answer any questions on this agreement.
Are there any questions? Commissioner Huckabee.
Thank you, Chairman Keller. Page 207. County shall be responsible for paying 50% of the total cost in the state, the other 50%. It goes on to say that 50% of the cost of the counties is calculated on the percentage of registered voters excluding Clark County, which
Yes.
has the biggest number of registered voters.
Included in this, that's why they think it'll, the cost, they're bringing them in this year. They do have additional costs for services to them. But once it's combined, the Secretary of State assured us that our costs should decrease once they're in the system with us due to them having a 70% base.
Interesting. Page 3. For the county to provide adequate security to prevent unauthorized access from altering the state voter registration list, isn't that through the cloud?
Mostly from what they did and talks about that is what we do physically here on site. Like our, I just wrote some different things down that we ensure that only certain staff have certain authorities. We have the computers locked when not, not in use. We use multi-factor authentication on all of our equipment. And then the cybersecurity part is done in correlation with our IT and the state for the cloud-based side.
Okay, making sure we're looking into that. The last page, just more of curiosity on my part. It has 16 counties listed with the number of Democrats, Republicans, Independents, etc. Clark County again is off of that chart. Why would they not report it? I mean, this is just a chart reporting for what your different parties consist of, and yet they're not on there. So I'm just, it says voters by county and party. They are a county. It just seems strange to me that you would leave off the most populous county for whatever reason with the designated parties.
Right. One thing is this contract only affects these counties. The contract that Clark is working under now is a totally separate contract. So none of their information is considered or agreed to in our contract directly with Knowing. Next year's contract will have all of those numbers for you statewide, including Clark.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Lindbergh, Chair. So what's the anticipated bill next year then?
I couldn't get any information out of them on that. All they would say is they do believe it's going to decrease due to bringing Clark in, and that's kind of, I guess, because they're required to issue this to every county in the state, so Clark has to be implemented. So it should be easier and less expensive once we get Clark on board, because they've been using it for almost 5 years now. So we won't need as much support. So that's why they think the support costs will decrease.
It just surprises me a little bit that they can't give an estimate on what it would be. I mean, I would think they would know, but
I can.
that's a tough one to swallow. That's a tough one to swallow. I'm not doubting you. I'm not doubting you. I'm surprised that they won't. have a clue on what that's gonna look like in long term, but that's okay.
Any other questions or comments? Anything from the public? Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve contract with Nevada Secretary of State through June 30, 2026, to support costs and required services to procure a voter registration database and election management system.
I'll second. Those in favor, motion by Commissioner Hockaday, seconded by Commissioner Keller. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Your facilities for possible action, approve a contract to the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, Saris Systems Lyon Incorporated, in the amount of $55,000 to replace Dayton Senior Center heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC system from the existing budget of $52,000 and from the budget transfer of $3,000 out of the general fund contingency.
I don't know if you have any questions, but we did. The bids, this is Doug Homestead, Facility Director for the record, all the bids came in above what we had put in capital improvement, which all the prices are going up and up, seems like, since last year. And so we're short by $3,000 to do this project.
Do we have any questions or comments? It always strikes me weird being in the construction industry when I see a round number like that, when no bid is.
Oh, it's. I think it's probably 50. I don't know, it's 52, is it 52?
It's 55,000.
Yeah.
On the thing, so
Yeah.
it just strikes me as.
The other ones were a lot higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other comment? Seeing none, bring it back to the vote for motion.
I'll move to approve a contract for the lowest responsible and responsive bidder, Saris Systems Reno Inc., in the amount of $55,000 to replace the Dayton Senior Center heating, ventilation, and air conditioning HVAC system from the existing budget of $52,000 from a budget transfer of $3,000 out of the general fund contingency.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Casanelli, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Brings us to utilities. 16A for presentation only, a project update from the utilities engineer.
Good morning, Chair, Commissioners. For the record, Kishore Panda, Utilities Engineer. I'll be giving the first quarter 2025 capital improvement project status update. There are a total of 6 projects. These are major projects in terms of capital improvement, as well as some of the engineering studies. So there are 3 projects in the pre-design or planning state. Rose Peak water main replacement. This is a pipeline replacement project. We are planning to bring an engineer and do the construction. Second and third project is Silver Spring GID. We are doing a couple of engineering studies with regards to effluent disposal study, including some of the equipments and process area process. We are also studying a sludge dewatering alternative evaluation and what is the recommended option for dewatering 2 ponds that are kind of going to be full pretty soon. One project in design, which is Highway 50 Dayton Valley Road Sewer Replacement Project Phase 2. One project in construction, which is a long last couple of years we have been doing the construction, is Rolling a plant expansion project. We finished one project in the last quarter, which is Silver Spring GID aeration improvement project. Next, I have, as usual, some additional details of each project, including the budget and the status and the schedule of these projects. So the first one is Rose Peak water main replacement project. This is a US EPA funded project up to $2.5 million. Budget was estimated as $3.2 million. Last quarter of 2024, we selected a consultant, which is HDR Engineering, through a competitive selection of qualification of different firms. There are multiple tasks that are going to help, including the funding application, NEPA activities and requirements, then project engineering. We have been kind of working for last few months to develop the scope and agreement. So finally, we are kind of ready there. So most likely next board meeting, we're going to bring a contract with HDR Engineering so that they can support us with the NEPA requirements, the grant funding application, as well as designing the project up to 30%. So once that phase is done, the second phase will bring them to complete the 100% design, as well as helping us with the construction management.
Before we move on this one, Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager, I just want to point out that this was one of our federal requests from 2 years ago that was approved for the $2.5 million. So really want to thank our congressional delegation for getting this through to us.
Thank you.
There's on that, who wrote and put in for that from our county?
Yeah, so the utilities department wrote that and put in for that, and it was part of one of our trips back to Washington, D.C.
So I just want to acknowledge their hard work on that, on putting in for that and getting 2.5 million. That's impressive. I hope we can continue to get a high yield from the feds.
Thanks. So next two projects basically say engineering evaluation. The first one is the Silver Spring GID effluent disposal study. So that has multiple components, as you can see. The first one is finding the true capacity of the current disposal, which is happening inside a soil located inside the airport. As of now, there is no issue. We have been disposing up to 160, 170,000 gallons per day. But we don't know what the true capacity when the plant is going to expand to its true capacity, which is 500,000 gallons per day. So we hope to do some geotech study so that we know what the true capacity in the future, whether this system can handle the true 100% capacity. But there are certain things to be taken care of before we do some geotech study, including the permission and the NEPA requirements, whether we can do that. So we assigned this study to this consultant. They're going to help us to find out what things to be done before we go to do this study, including some geotech, boring some manholes, wells, taking some water sample, those kind of activities. The second part is to complete the effluent disposal PER, which, if you remember, was partly done by Dow, and this task is going to be completed by Atkins. The third is effluent filtration system evaluation. This system in operation for last 26 years. The lack of maybe end of the life is in a bad state. So the recommendation came to completely rehab the system at a cost of about $972,000. Staff basically applied for a capital improvement grant funding, which there is opportunity to get up to 80%, up to I think $777,000. So hopefully, if we get that, that will cover most of the cost of that project. The last component of this study is disinfection system. Initially, we kind of evaluated the system. There are some chemical safety related risks we identified. So we assigned this task also to Atkins to study and recommend or find out what needs to be done.
Sure, Colonel.
Next study.
Thank you, Chair. In this, does that include the preventative maintenance recommendations, or is that done in-house?
It will include the preventive maintenance. So our goal is right now, if you remember one project we completed, which is the irrigation system, which is last slide in my presentation. We finished that project in February. One of the key aspects we stress upon during the completion, give us the O&M, give us the spare part list so that we can train our staff to do that preventive maintenance on a timely basis. Have enough spare parts to basically do the maintenance timely. That was one of the things that we found that was lacking previously. Same thing we'll also do for the filter system. Once we complete this installation by the manufacturer, we'll ask them to do the training as well as provide the documentation.
Right on. Thank you.
Any question? I'll go to the next one, which is Silver Spring GID. Again, this is another study on evaluating two options, how to clean those two sludge ponds. At this point, we are almost going to get the draft tech memo. The recommendation came to dewater the sludge pond by using some mechanical dewatering means. And we are planning to complete this construction during the summer. Next one. This project is Highway 50 Dayton Valley Dayton Sewer Replacement Project Phase 2. Finally, we went to bid the project. We went to the market to solicit bids on March 11. Bid was open on April 9th. We only received one bid, and engineer's recommendation, which is our next agenda item. But engineer's recommendation is to reject the bid because to utilize the public money effectively, that's the recommendation came from engineer. So we are going to probably rebid the project after evaluating the spec, maybe in a timely manner in the fall. So that's the next agenda item. Details David is going to present. And again, that's the basically one bidder. We can move with the contract award for this project. Next one. Next one is the plant expansion project. So those are the details on the budget. So far, out of $20 million contract, construction contract, we have spent about $14.5 million. Contingency fund out of 1.8 million, we have spent only $327,000. Construction schedule-wise began in October of 2023. Contractually, it's 24 months construction, supposed to be done by September of this year. Unfortunately, there are some issues with the equipment supplier, one of the major vendor. Equipment supplier, the response, so kind of putting the construction in a delayed path. So as of date, expected to be done by May of 2026. So there is a 6-7 months delay that we are working with the contractor and see how we can wrap it up quickly. There are some information about those change orders that we processed up to $427,000. And expected some change orders coming to the board maybe by June or July for a request for time extension and possibly some engineering cost to our construction manager, which is Dow, because of the extension of project. But at this point, we are trying to fit within the project contingency fund that board already approved. So that's the budget status as well as the schedule. Last one.
Okay. Can we go back just to, can you, emergency pond riprap quantity change? So we need more, what is that riprap? I mean, I think I know what it is.
Yeah. WCD 003.
Which what?
That's the Watson directive for an amount of $5,929. Is that your question? 12
WCD 005?
005. Yeah, so that's the credit amount that we received from contractor because what was in the project's amount, the finally it came lower as a unit price basis. So contractor is supposed to refund that money to the county.
It's a refund.
So
That's refund.
That's the refund. That's
okay. I saw it in red and I was like, Well, in parentheses, I didn't know if that was
Yeah.
decrease or increase.
All the numbers that are in parentheses or shown in red, that's the credit amount.
Okay, thank you.
This is the project we finished last quarter, Silver Spring GID aeration improvement. This is one of the project also funded by for grant funding from ARPA. Finally, the contract price was $609,000, $952. We finally spent up to $589,000, $101. There's a time extension given to the contractor because of some equipment supply delay. Up to February 18th of this year. Finally, the contractor was able to finish this project by February 12th. So it was a very successful project. I can say that the manufacturer of this system, they did a very good job responding timely to all the communications, keeping track of all the changes and responding to our requests. Thank you. That's all I have.
Do you have any questions for me? Okay, thank you. Move on to 16B for possible action. To reject the bid from Burdick Excavation Company in the amount of $5,315,905 for the Highway 50 sewer replacement project in accordance with NRS 338.1385D on the grounds that rejecting the bid would serve the public interest.
Chairman Keller, Commissioners, David Ricketta for the board. So Kishore touched on this project. This is our Highway 50 sewer project. It's located in Dayton at the corner of Dayton Valley Road and Highway 50. We're replacing a gravity sewer line. So we received the bids back on April 9th, and unfortunately, we only received one bid. The one bid was about 1.2 million above the engineer's estimate. And so we're the engineer's recommendation, and we support it, is that we reject the bid in accordance with the NRS 338 cited in here, that it's not in the public's best interest. We are not able to validate the bid amount from that single contractor. Typically, when an engineer develops an engineering estimate, it's called a class 1 estimate, which is typically in general, it's minus 10% to plus 15%. That's a range that they give you. This was about 29% higher than that cost estimate. So we're recommending that the bid does get rejected. And what our plan would be moving forward is we'll take a look at our bid specs. We have talked to the bidder themselves. They provided us some input. And then rebid the project in the fall.
Questions?
I have a question, Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Casanel.
The plan holder list is not part of our packet, but it says in here that you guys contacted the plan holders for some input. Do you know about how many there were?
I don't know the exact number. I believe that Loomis contacted about roughly three people. We had a pre-bid meeting for the plan holder list.
Yeah.
And they contacted them, and the feedback they got was a lot of it was due to scheduling, and they're currently full up. That's why what our plan would be is to go back and review the bid that we put out to see if we can make improvements and better explanation, make it more clear to provide to the next bidder, and then hopefully the schedules will clear up in the fall and we'll get more bidders and more competitive bids.
But you're pretty confident you'll have at least 3 bids in the fall now.
As confident as we can be.
Yeah, because my concern is obviously prices are increasing out of control, and if we wait, if we're gonna already be at the 5 million by the time we get to the fall, you know.
I understand, and we had a lot of internal discussion about it. With this tariff situation going on, it creates a lot of uncertainty from Western Nevada Supply, which is a major supplier to all these people. So we're hoping that will calm down, but there's no guarantee that it will. But we're hoping there'll be better clarity on that, and we can get better, more competitive prices.
Thanks. Any other questions? Any public comment? Let me bring it back to the board for a motion.
Move to reject the bid from Burdick Excavation Company in the amount of $5,315,905 for the Highway 50 sewer replacement project in accordance with NRS 338.1385D on the grounds that rejecting the bid would serve the public interest.
Second. Have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Jacobson. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Public hearing on planning items. 17A for possible action to propose an ordinance approving the development agreement between Lyon County and Track Capital Management LP for the development of the Silver Springs Technology Park specific plan for the 460-acre development for data centers, high voltage power lines, electrical power substations, a water tank, and other associated utility and access improvements located west of US Highway 95A and north of US Highway 50 in Silver Springs. APNs 015-111-01, 2, 4, 5, and 6, and a portion of 015-091 and 08. PLZ 2024-050, and other matters properly relating thereto.
Gavin Harrison, Lyon County Community Development Director for the record. So the item before you is a request from Track Capital to propose an ordinance approving a development agreement pertaining to the Silver Springs Technology Park for the intended development of a data center and the necessary infrastructure to serve the project. So I first wanted to demonstrate the project location, as we've seen in the past with prior applications related to the project. So project area is generally located northwest of the traffic circle in Silver Springs. The picture on the left shows the general boundary of the project, whereas the picture on the right shows the boundary of the project with the individual APNs listed there. I do want to note that only 460 acres of the total 1,070 acres is actually proposed for development. We'll touch that on the next slide. So that northern portion that is not proposed within the development, that's topographically limited, so we get into the mountain range and it's a residential zone. So that's why the majority of the development is kind of sticking to that lower 460 acres. We do want to note that the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners approved the specific plan for this project on March 6th meeting, and then the Planning Commission recommended approval of the development agreement on their April 5th meeting. We first wanted to just highlight a typical exterior for a data center. As seen in these examples, the exterior appearance of the data center is generally comparable to that of a modern warehouse or industrial building. So these structures often feature large box-like forms with minimal architectural detailing, flat roofs, and use materials such as concrete panels, metal siding, and other utilitarian finishes designed to prioritize function and security. So again, this is simply just to show the, what we could expect from a typical exterior of a data center. We did want to touch on the interior portion. So these images again show the interior of a typical data center featuring rows of computer servers housed in metal racks, all interconnected via cables and switches. The space is equipped with large cooling units and HVAC systems to manage the heat generated by the servers. The layout is generally designed to take advantage of the interior space while maximizing efficiency and security of that storage. Now we'll get into the meat of the item. So this slide outlines the provisions of the development agreement, which has been reviewed by the Lyon County District Attorney's Office for consistency with the prior approved specific plan. Staff wanted to highlight the items which garnered the highest amount of attention and time, working with Mitch Nelson, who's here in person from Tract and the District Attorney's Office. So in section 4.2.B.I, power substations located within the above ground utility corridor as specified by BLM and identified in the 2020 Lyon County Master Plan. So substations located within that corridor. Substations in general usually require a conditional use permit. So substations for the project, this project specifically located in that corridor, but only need to go through the ADR process, which is an administrative design review. Recognizing that the findings for both the CUP, which is a conditional use permit, and the ADR are the same, and that the substation is a necessary component to serve the data center project. So that was recognized in the agreement. Working with the district attorney's office and staff, we came to terms that that was an acceptable term to have in an agreement. Section 4.2.b, a water tank, one accessory to a data center, will be reviewed through an administrative design review process, further setting the application process for a water tank necessary to serve the project. That tank will still have to go through all the required building permit review process and applications and be reviewed to the adopted codes at the time of application. Then in section 5.2, which is the public roadway improvements, those will be constructed by the developer. And this section clearly specifies that all of those construction costs are burdened by the developer, not in the county. It goes through the same county process as far as the dedication and acceptance. So they build them to the county standards. We go out, we inspect them, they get a notice of completion, then we accept those roads for dedication, and then we maintain them in perpetuity. And then last item is Article 7, which is the term of the agreement. So the term of the agreement is 20 years. The extended timeline reflects the current lack of available power to serve the project as proposed. So understanding we're working with that extensive timeline, the energy is kind of a limiting factor when it comes to data centers and development, just from a power standpoint, and not having that power availability to serve the project. Understanding could be 10 years, it could be longer. So 20 years is what we came to agreed upon terms as far as that timeline. We do recognize this is a long time period, so we did include that progress updates were provided every 2 years, which is intended to support the timely advancement of the development. And then I do want to note that agreement's effective date will begin when Track actually purchased the property. I believe they're currently working through that as we speak, and but that is important to note, so that effective date does not start. So the agreement does not go into effect until they purchase the property. But all the current property owners, they've signed the applications, they're aware of what's going on in the process and are backing Track. Next slide. So when we heard this at the planning commission and they had a unanimous vote of 7-0, they did bring up 2 topics of discussion that we just wanted to highlight. So they had some questions about the default and remedy section, and then as well as the reimbursement section of the agreement. So sections 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3 relate to the default and remedies. So basically, it comes down to that the county retains the right to terminate the agreement for if the developer is in default. And on the flip side, the developer retains the right to develop as the development agreement describes for anything that the county defaults within the agreement. And then section 9.3 clearly states that neither party is liable for consequential damages. So this includes indirect costs such as lost profits, delays, and third-party claims. These provisions are intended to be set clear expectations and a process for resolution in the event of a default by either party. So pretty standard language as far as development agreements go in that section. The reimbursement section. So this slide just summarizes how the development agreement addresses the reimbursement if there was to be any. So section 5.4 of Article 5 outlines that the extent applicable, the developer may be eligible for a reimbursement agreement with Lyon County for certain roadway improvements constructed as part of the project. The clause acknowledges that these improvements may provide a benefit not only to the subject development, but also to surrounding community and future development in the area. As a result, their permits may qualify for the reimbursement under Chapter 120 within Title 15 of Lyon County Code. So any such reimbursement would require the execution of a separate agreement. That agreement still has to come to the Board of County Commissioners for approval. And usually with those reimbursement agreements, they're not looking to the county to necessarily provide funds to recuperate the costs. They're going out to other property owners in the immediate area, and then looking for, as they come forward with development, those costs will be recuperated for those roadway improvements.
Question for you on that right there.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me an example of where we've done that in the past?
Don't know of any active reimbursement agreements with Lyon County. We do have a chapter specifically within county code that outlines the process. Like I said, it still involves public hearings. It's not a guarantee. That section basically says to the extent applicable, that tract is available to pursue a reimbursement agreement with Lyon County.
Thank you.
Sure, Keller. Go ahead. Mr. Henderson, thank you. And you maybe covered this and maybe this isn't, if it doesn't pertain, just let me know. But is there any liability on the county if they walk away or default on payments or anything like that? Was that covered or is that not even?
Yes, so that would be a default, and I would prefer to maybe legal counsel on that, but. I don't know. So, Mr. Jacobson is asking if.
So, Mr. Rye, is there liability on the county if they walk away, default on payments, et cetera, on this? Would any of that fall back on the county?
No,
And if it doesn't even pertain, just say that there's absolutely no worry there.
yeah, no, it probably pertains. I don't think there would be any liability on the county. But some of the terms of the agreement and the specific plan would remain in place even if the developer walked away. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely, thank you.
And sorry, I wasn't paying attention. I just wanted to confirm Dayton Utilities does have one pending reimbursement agreement. It is something the county has used in prior projects, not frequently, but we have had that experience.
Where's that at? You know? I'm just curious because I don't see the benefit of them really, but.
So David Burkett for the record. So yeah, we have one reimbursement agreement, and how it works is we had a developer that needed a lift station. So about 6 years ago, they paid to have the lift station done under certain conditions that would apply to us if we did it. They fronted the money, and then everybody who benefited from all the surrounding property within the 10-year window, if they connect into the system, they have to pay their pro rata share of that. So the reimbursement agreement is between us and then the people who are benefiting from whatever was built, and that's how it's done in Dayton.
I just don't know how that works as far as all the people, like the first one online is just a percentage.
Yeah, so in this case, they spent, I don't remember the exact number, but let's say they spent about $2 million, $3 million building this lift station. Then we looked at all the potential connections into that lift station, and we said, okay, there's a total of 1,000 potential connections. So we took that number divided by 1,000 and said the next people that hook up within the next 10 years have to pay that pro rata share to connect to it. Then after 10 years, it's null and void.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. So if I'm hearing you right, that one works for the benefit of the county because we got the lift station paid for and then it passed off onto the new development, which did not raise any taxes for current rate holders.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
I was looking at the roads, and roads to me is a cost.
That would be the same.
Yeah.
Thing for any sort of reimbursement grant related to this project. And then, so this slide just clarifies the framework established in Lyon County Code Title 15, specifically 15.120, which governs the process for entering reimbursement agreements. So while the development agreement allows for the eligibility to pursue a reimbursement agreement for certain public improvements, Chapter 15.120 makes it clear that any such agreement requires additional public hearings and a formal approval by the Board of County Commissioners. It also further specifies that the approval of the reimbursement agreement is entirely discretionary. It states that nothing in the chapter is intended to create enforceable rights or guarantees that a reimbursement agreement will be granted.
So that really still got me puzzled a little bit. So if you had a reimbursement agreement, you would have to get agreement from everybody going down that road, to pass that road, or it would be adjacent to that road. Because I don't see where, if I owned a piece of property and there was a dirt road that I was happy with, and I went and built out there, why would I be part of any agreement except for in front of my piece of property?
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So it wouldn't be for existing properties, right? I mean, existing houses or whatever is on that road, they don't have to pay into it. It's for new projects, which we would require as a part of their development anyway. So.
Or just right in between there. Like if I owned a piece of property, you require me to have if I was just building something out there, I would only have to pave right in front of my property.
It depends.
So why would I take care of all the
project?
Yeah, so it's complicated to me, so
It's complicated, but it would have to be taken on a,
you'd have to bring this back before us anyway, so those are some of the questions I'll be asking if that does.
yeah.
And Gavin Anderson, Lyon County Community Developer, and that's kind of what this slide is kind of outlining, saying, you know, at no time is the county have to approve the reimbursement agreement. It's still got to go through the public hearing process. It's still got to meet, you know, chapter 120 of the development code. So there's a lot of hurdles still to go through before it even comes to the board. Those are great questions.
Which is my chance to ask.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll open up to any further questions. Mitch Nelson from Track also wanted to say a couple things related to the development group.
Go ahead and come on up.
Mitch Nelson with Track, the developer, 3200 Turn Creek South, Denver, Colorado. First of all, I want to say thank you to the staff and district attorney's office. It's been a few months of work that went into this, and we feel like it's a good reinforcement of a specific plan. I want to also make it clear this doesn't deviate from the specific plan. It's exactly what we already talked about on March 6th. We just wanted to have an agreement that added a couple more things that we found were a benefit. One of those being the substation. We want to make sure that that BLM corridor that exists is utilized. So in order to incentivize that, we have the streamlined process only if it's located within the corridor that's already established. So outside of that, it would still go through a public process. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention. On reimbursements, I just want to state for the record that we want that in there because it's a code allowance, but we don't intend to probably follow through on that. And if we do, it is complicated. It will take some thought behind who participates and how. I think the general theory there is other development, i.e. another big industrial development or somebody else that's going to benefit from the road. We want them to participate, much like if we're going to outline on sewer. So that's the intent of that language, and we acknowledge you have to come back and guard it eligible. And then the last thing, I just want to say that updates are important to us. The 2-year cycle, we've mentioned NV Energy. It's our goal to bring this project and the revenues that come with it as soon as we can. I think that is an opportunity for us to come back and show you guys that we're putting in the effort and the work with that partner to get that to be forward. So outside of that, I don't have any objections. Dan did a great job, and that's a great job bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Any questions from the public? Seeing none. We have a proposal.
I'll make a motion. Based on the affirmation findings A through E, I propose an ordinance adopting the development agreement between Lyon County and Track Capital Management LP for the development of the Silver Springs Technology Park SSTP specific plan for the 460 acres of 6 parcels that total approximately 1,070 acres located west of US Highway 5095, US Highway 95A, north of US Highway 50 in Silver Springs, APN 015-111-01, 02, 04, 05, 06, and portion of 015-091-08, PLZ 2024, -050.
This is just a proposal, so it's just a proposal by one commissioner. We'll come back before us.
Yeah, we'll set this for Steve IDA. We'll set it for a public hearing on the ordinance. And so Commissioner Casanelli's proposal is sufficient to do that. And there'll be a public hearing to approve the ordinance, which at the same time approves the agreement.
Thank you. Moving on to 18A for possible action. Discuss and provide direction to the county manager regarding legislation for 83rd session of the Nevada legislature. Legislation includes Assembly Bills 81, 462, Assembly Joint Resolution 1, and Senate Bills 53, 303, 364, 423.
Good afternoon, Chair Keller and Commissioners. Taylor Allison, Lyon County Emergency Management Government Affairs Director. Welcome to day 88 of the 83rd session, 83rd Nevada legislative session. We are a little over a month out from the end of session. Hopefully we will not see a special session as previously mentioned, or a few. But we'll cross that bridge as it comes. Moving into the presentation today, I'm bringing forward a few bills I think is important to have on all of your radar, as well as seeking some input and guidance on the county's position. The first one is Assembly Bill 81. This bill exempts Nevada from federal provisions requiring the observance of daylight savings time. Nevada would remain on Pacific Standard Time effective January 1st, 2026. Just a little bit of background, this bill did pass out of the assembly with a vote of 27-15. And there are a number of arguments for and against this bill, some of which were brought forward in our NACO legislative coalition meeting in regards to ballparks with lights and commuters in the dark with the extended lack of daylight hours, I guess you could say, in going on Pacific Standard Time versus the daylight savings time. So this is one in particular that I wanted to bring forward. Staff recommended position is neutral. However, we'd like to express our concerns to the bill sponsors. It's got large representation, sponsorship on this particular bill. And we want to share the potential impacts to our communities. But I'd love to hear recommendations from the board specific to this bill. I know County Manager had some thoughts.
Andrew Haskin, Lyon County Manager. So this is one that wasn't initially on my radar from the county perspective. From a personal perspective, I didn't like it, but just because in the summertime it would keep us on winter time. But Chair Keller brought up in a meeting about some of the potential impacts to our parks in the summertime, because most of our parks don't have lights. And that's when a lot of our sporting activities for youth happen. And so, we wanted to bring it to the board to get your opinion. Like I said, or like Taylor said, we have it listed as neutral. However, we can kind of go any direction that you want. I know that previously, a few years ago, Commissioner Henderson had brought up a resolution, I think, on this particular issue. But I think it was to encourage the federal government to stay on summertime, not wintertime. So just to highlight kind of what that would mean, if this bill gets passed, we would fall back in the fall, but not spring forward in the spring anymore. Would just stay that way. So in the summertime, I actually looked at the tables to see when sunrise and sunset would be. On the longest day in June, sunrise would be at 4:30 in the morning, and sunset would be at 7:30 roughly. So give or take 5 minutes. So I just wanted to put that forward and get the board's opinion on this and see what everyone's take is.
I think it's a terrible idea. I mean, we look at all of even our own crews that have to work outside in the summer heat. They can't even start work in a lot of areas until a certain time. By then, it's already going to be full on hot. And I just think for anybody that has to work outdoors, it's just a terrible thing.
Yeah. It definitely changes some things. I think there's a lot of preference out there to stay with summertime, but due to federal law, we can't do that. So this was kind of the thought process to fix the time change thing, but I don't know.
Any more comments? I do have one comment because you guys have heard this before when my fellow board members in. And that's because we have a lot of commuters and the quality of life that they can spend with their family when they get home, daylight hours and stuff like that. And I know in the construction industry, we get home 5, 6 o'clock at night. And if it gets dark an hour later, that's enough to mow the lawn, not play catch with the boys. So I'm against it. I do wish that I see a lot of like our own. I see a couple of rural, I think it affects the rural areas more because they don't have lights. If you go down south, it helps Vegas because it gets people on the nightlife more. quicker. So it helps the strip and that type of thing. But I wish our own rural representatives on here would have contacted us before they supported that, but I'm against it. I'm said neutral, I'd be against. Commissioner Jacobson.
No, thank you, Chair. I would be curious. Farming isn't so big and friendly anymore, and you could probably argue it isn't that big in Central Lyon. But down here in Unington, I would wonder how it would affect Perry's and some of those businesses, because agriculture is a huge thing, and I don't know if starting tractors up at 4:30 in the morning or 4 even to get going is good for neighborhoods and good for our agriculture in South Lyon.
Yeah, so Andrew Haskins for the record. So Lyon County doesn't have a noise ordinance, so we don't have restrictions on when you can and can't start construction. So generally, you know,
There is.
Huh? HOAs might, I don't know. That's up to them.
But that doesn't mean people won't start calling.
Yeah, it doesn't mean people won't start calling. I mean, I think the agriculture pretty much happens from sunrise to sunset, no matter what. But I agree with you. I mean, it is a concern for the people that aren't involved with ag, that are.
And this is the only direction we can go because of the statute. We can only go to standard time. But right now, the administration's working toward going the other way from the president. So again, that federal will be one way, and then we can go the other way. So I would still be against it. Any other comments?
It should be the other way around, I think.
Right. Or just direction, right? Do you want me to take public comment on each one or just at the end?
Probably just, and if we go through all of them and then we can adjust the recommendation.
Yeah, and if you have any recommendation that's different than what we're facing, note that.
For efficiency's sake, if we act on it as each one comes to us, rather than rehash and go back through them at the end, because if we don't take public comment now, we can't take action on this one till the very end, and then we're going to be revisiting them all.
We can take a consensus on each one, I guess. As we go. Because they're not listed out as individual.
Well, we'd have to act on them individually.
Well, whatever that motion would be individually, right? They'd have to spell out each one. So if we can come up with the consensus on each one, then that could be the motion.
I shouldn't have said anything. It's good.
You started it.
Hash it out.
It seems to me, at least the Fogle Deputy District Attorney, it seems to me that even though it's one agenda item, you should take action on each of the items and not just do a consensus vote on them individually. So probably have to kind of go through them one by one and say yay or nay. However you think.
So we can separate this out like the consent agenda and take out each bill individually.
I think you should do that because it's a question of transparency. If you think about that, then you're really going to be transparent like we're supposed to be.
Okay, well, I'll take a motion to give direction on the Assembly Bill 81. And we want to make a stab at it?
I move that we oppose Assembly Bill 81.
Second. We have a motion and a second to oppose, and the rest of it's going to stay the same, right? And express potential impacts to bill sponsors. We have a motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye. We want public or not.
I'll put down. I don't see anything online. No public comment, so go back to the vote. Those in favor say aye. Aye. So that first one's 5-0. Bill 81. Going to Bill 462.
Okay, again, Taylor Allison for the record. Assembly Bill 462 authorizes the creation of an inland port authority and industrial parks and allows an entity establishing the port authority to adopt an ordinance creating a tax increment finance area. This bill has two parts. That's the component we're primarily focused on for the purposes of this presentation. The second part provides provisions for school districts to offer career exploration opportunities and other provisions related to career pathway programs. Doesn't have any direct impact to the county. The sponsor is Assembly Member Shay Backus. We're closely monitoring the Inland Port Authority and potential impacts to the proposed Port of Nevada site in the city of Fernley. Our concerns with this bill, we did testify in opposition on the Assembly side due to concerns related to the ability for cities or counties to establish tax increment financing, which carries its own inherent risks on behalf of overlapping taxing entities. We did submit an amendment which would clarify the language. However, that amendment was not accepted and included in this reprint one of the language. It was amended by the Governor's Office of Economic Development to include language that would only include the property adjacent to the inland port. Would be eligible for tax increment financing, but does not resolve concerns that the appropriate governing bodies may approve and have the ability to participate in this type of financing. Again, there are several inherent risks to tax increment financing. And our local expert comptroller Foley has a lot of history and knowledge relating to the impacts that this has had on our county over time. And I did want to share a little bit of background on this as well. There are other bills related to tax increment financing in the legislature that do allow for overlapping entities such as school districts, fire protection districts, or any other special district to participate in the process if their financing may be affected. There was one for restoration improvement districts which received broad support. So the goal with this one is to continue to talk to the bill sponsor, share our concerns. The effect this may have is it's specifically looking at a project that's within Lyon County. The project that there was a second project that would be impacted by potential Port Authority was carved out. They did include population carve out for over 700,000. So Clark County is the only county, essentially for them, only the county has the ability to do this. So there was not any political will in the first house to include our language in clarifying the participation of multiple taxing entities. So I will happy to answer any questions.
Sir Jacobson.
Thank you, Ms. Allison. So, correct me if I'm wrong, the city of Fernley is for this.
Correct. They did, their lobbyists testified in support.
So it may be good for the city, but it's not good for the county. Or they think it's good for the city, I guess, in our opinion. Obviously, they're supporting this.
I'll just clarify on this particular bill, we did share in our testimony, like we're in support of the port and economic development, just the language and overlapping participating entities. And that's
I just want to be clear that obviously I'm a county commissioner and not a city councilman. So while this may be something pushed by the city, it's not necessarily good for our county.
correct.
So last time I checked, I'm a county commissioner and not a city councilman.
Fleet Comptroller Tony has some context to add.
I guess I should say good afternoon. Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So tax increment financing in certain spheres are really beneficial for local governments and for the communities. The vast majority of them, though, are not. What they actually do is take what a developer would pay and the people buying the development and transfer a number of those costs over to the taxpayers of the governmental entities to pay for that construction. And so you get businesses, and it makes sense to attract businesses to the community. As long as you're able to generate enough revenue to provide those services and you're not putting additional burdens on your existing taxpayers. Many of those tax increment financing, and in my opinion, this particular one would put more of a significant burden on the taxpayers. So I don't believe, in my professional opinion, it's beneficial for the way it's written for the county, the school district, even the city over time, because
What about Lyon Fire?
any of the government
Right.
entities.
Okay.
Maybe I should just say that, including the state, the fire district, all of those, it harms them over time. The only caveat I would have to that would be what we have seen in the case of bringing in a singular large business that comes in, such as a Tesla or something like that, that actually stimulates a number of other developers, number of other businesses that are actually paying taxes to come into it. What this bill does is not that. What this bill does is says, we're going to take the entire inland port, we're going to take the entire industrial park, maybe even additional industrial parks after that, and we're going to make all of those, for the most part, tax exempt for the next 20 or 30 years. You're going to get the businesses, you're going to get the jobs, but you're going to get no revenues to support those businesses or jobs, which is exactly what Story County found with Tesla itself, with fire services providing them to those. Luckily, Tesla came to the plate and outside of taxes went and helped them with that. But this particular bill isn't the same thing as what that is. So that's just a little background from what I have seen. Yes, but not as extensive.
The other troubling piece about this is it takes away our ability to approve it, so. The other taxing entity, the city could establish a tax increment finance area and we couldn't say. We didn't want that, our tax rate would go away just as much as theirs would, so.
More questions? Any more questions? Any public comment? Bring back to the board. 462, do I have a motion?
I move to continue to oppose Assembly Bill 462.
Second. Good. A motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, AG 1.
Thank you. Taylor Allison for the record. Assembly Joint Resolution 1. I believe we did bring this forward in our first my first legislative staff report. And I believe we were neutral at that time with concerns related to the second component of the resolution. So the first component proposes to amend the Nevada Constitution to revise provisions relating to the assessment and taxation of real property which is sold or transferred. It essentially resets the depreciation upon sale. And the second component was amended during the work session to remove the tax assistance rebates for senior citizens. The goal was to focus, the bill sponsor wanted to focus on a single issue. And as this is a constitutional change, it will have to be passed through 2 consecutive legislative sessions and then taken to a vote to the voters for approval. It didn't make sense to include 2 issues to the people, which may have a difference of opinion, the reset on sale versus the senior rebates. So our staff recommendation is to support as county expenses are rapidly outpacing revenues in several areas. Other counties have testified in support of this bill, or this resolution, I should say, as amended. It will create significant county revenue increases with minimal impacts to, I should say, minimal impacts as presented. The concept is that the housing rates will fluctuate, market rates will fluctuate based on the reset on sale. So you assess tax values just like interest rates, not necessarily an increase in taxes, but generates revenue to counties. So that's why our staff recommendation is to support. And again, it'll go to the voters to ultimately decide.
Questions? Any public comment? You can bring it back. We have a motion for AJ one.
Motion to support Assembly Joint Resolution 1.
I have a second.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hockaday, second by Commissioner Casanel. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Senate Bill 53, everyone's very familiar with this. This is Lyon County's bill that we brought forward. I know we mentioned it in the last commission meeting. I just wanted to give a brief update, but of course, it did not meet the deadline to move forward through this session. However, my department is still actively working with NDOT on some of the concerns that we have related to GPS and potentially doing pilot program in data sharing to GPS navigation providers, as well as creating emergency traffic management plans for evacuations that impact the county to improve communications. And so we can no longer take action on this through the legislative session. I just wanted to give you a brief update that doesn't mean that the work stops here and that we're going to continue to work on this as it's a priority for our communities. So no further action.
Comments on this one? I would still support it.
I do think it's funny. When one of the roads was closed in the flood, I went down just to check it out and like 4 people came, saw it, went and turned around because their GPS still was not guiding them away, so.
Yeah. And continue to work on it. We might want to, if you don't get progress with what you're doing, keeps it on the radar for our next session. And I think we should revisit with these people and ask them after this session's over, why they didn't move it forward, you know, get a response from it. So.
Cause this doesn't cost really anything, does it?
Nope, they just don't want to bring it forward. Any good bill should die. That's where they look at it.
Initially, NDOT did place a fiscal impact on it, but you all approved the amended language, which would allow counties to recover some of the costs, and that would have removed their fiscal impact. Work continues. We'll press on. Senate Bill 303. So this bill revises provisions relating to civil liability to persons using certain premises for recreational activity under certain circumstances. That's a very broad umbrella summary, but it essentially would remove liability protection for injuries that occur in residential common areas or public infrastructure such as public parks. Cities and counties across the state are significantly concerned. The DA's offices representing cities and counties testified in opposition. It was amended. However, it did not address our concerns. So the staff recommendation is to oppose the text as reprinted and reprint 1. I have reached out just for background to PoolPad. There's concerns to our liability insurance rates due to this proposed language, and could not come up with an estimate of what those adverse increases may be due to this bill. But it is known that we can anticipate that our rates would increase. I'll just note on this slide, there's also a typo. The bill sponsor carried over from a previous presentation. That was on behalf of the City of Fernley's bill. The sponsor is actually the Senate Judiciary Committee. This bill was passed out of the Senate and is moving to the Assembly side, so we'll continue to work with all of the parties to try and address our concerns.
So this increases the liability on us. Open space too. Yeah. I'm opposing it. Any other questions, comments? Any public comment? Okay, motion on SB 303.
To continue to oppose Senate Bill 303.
Second. A motion by Commissioner Hendricks, second by Commissioner Casanelli. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Senate Bill 364.
Senate Bill 364. This bill is related to tax abatements for the rail industry, authorizes qualified businesses to apply through the Governor's Office of Economic Development for partial abatement related to the connection of railroad tracks, spurs, and other rail-related infrastructure. We've had several meetings on this bill. It prescribes certain requirements and conditions for the partial abatement. The bill language is not clear that this is for new construction. It has language such as operation, reconstruction, and maintenance may be eligible for partial abatement. So we have significant concerns as Union Pacific's like the 8th largest, I believe, taxpayer in the county, that minor maintenance projects may now be eligible for partial abatement. We have submitted an amendment as well as NNDA has submitted an amendment to please clarify that this is for new construction of rail spurs. Those have not yet been accepted. This bill has qualified for an exemption and it has not been voted on the Senate side yet. So I don't have any information on that. It did have an amendment on the real property provisions, which is not a normal process for partial tax abatement. Real property is not usually included through GoEd's programs. This bill would allow real property 1 foot in either direction of the tracks, which has created some concerns for our assessor's office as well, and how that will look and impact the county.
Questions or comments? Any public comment? Seeing none, entertain a motion for Senate Bill 364.
Move to oppose Senate Bill 364.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Hendricks, seconded by Commissioner Harkadel. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
5-0, oppose. Senate Bill 423.
Thank you. I figured I'd throw one in there for support. We don't get many of those. Senate Bill 423 is a bill that creates the account for public health. It's authorizing direct allocations of $4,925,000 each biennium to the account, and a $225,000 allocation to each county, which is not covered by a health district, to provide foundational public health services. In summary, it's base funding for foundational public health services to fill those gaps identified in the assessment that was done by NACO and UNR. NACO's public health, or I should say Health and Human Services Manager now, Amy Hines Sutherland, she presented this amended language to the Senate Committee on Health and Human Services, and it received broad support if funding allows. And it's written in such way as that as state revenues allow, this what funding would be available to counties.
Any questions for Senate Bill 423? Any?
I was just trying to.
Sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Just the numbers quick. That's roughly $5 million. And each county is 225,000.
Correct. So it only is direct to counties that are not covered by a health district. The formula has a breakout for health authorities, health districts, the state health authority, as well as there's a breakout for tribal public health services.
So how many counties would qualify for that? I'm just trying to figure out.
That is a great question.
Is it done by county or by district?
It is all of those not covered by a health district. So those that are covered are Washoe, Clark, those in the Central Nevada Health District, which there's Churchill, Mineral, Eureka, and Pershing. There's one other in the Central Nevada, and then because it's written as health authority, health district, it does not include Carson City covering all of us through delegated authority in the quad counties. Lyon County would get a specific, it's the same formula that we received from last session that Shayla has been utilizing for the Live Better Lyon campaign. It was a one-time appropriation fund. This would be sustainable base level funding that you could build programs off of, and you wouldn't have to do a one-time project such as a campaign.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was probably more than you asked for.
No, that was what I was asking for.
And that does quite a bit for it because instead of just putting signs out and stuff like that, you can actually work towards something that makes sense. Any questions? Any public comment? Entertain a motion on Senate Bill 423.
Move to continue to support Senate Bill 423.
Do I have a second? Second. Motion by Commissioner Hendrick, second by Commissioner Hockaday. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Overall questions? So this is, we're giving this department direction as they sit now, not as they become amended right down close to the wire. And none of that happens. And we probably won't have a commissioners meeting in between. So how's that work with amendments? If it's going in the direction we talked, we continue to work toward it.
Taylor Allison for the record, because you approved our updated lobbying policy and legislative principles, as long as we continue to advocate on behalf of those principles for any of the language as it changes throughout the amendments. We'll stay in those parameters. Anything outside of it will come back to the board.
Fantastic. Okay, well, should we break for lunch?
I think we can knock this one out.
Okay. For possible action, we will approve the proposed changes and updates to the Citizen Advisory Handbook and the Citizens Advisory Bylaws.
Andrew Haskell, Lyon County Manager. So this is one that has been hanging out there for a while. I think the board provided direction to me late last year on this one. There was a couple of recommended changes at that time. And so I went through the advisory handbook and the bylaws, made those changes that the board had recommended. Went through, there was a few that I had seen in there that I thought needed to be changed as well. And so this is the proposed draft of both of those.
Give me 1 second. Is there anybody got questions? Commissioner Hendricks.
On page 357, number 2. I think it's the third sentence kind of reads odd, like it might need to be fixed. It says the term of office for each officer will set through December 31st. So it just seems like there's a typo there, and we might want to look at.
Was that a change that I had made or?
Yeah.
Okay.
It should be, will be said, yeah.
Well, the B got crossed out and it seems like it should still be there.
That might have been an accident.
So. Got any more?
The other thing was on 367, interaction with the Lyon County managers things. Do any of these in here? Paper and ink, does that also include like the nameplates? I know we historically provide those to them.
Yeah, it's always fun.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Yeah, right off the start, Article 2, page 354. Actually, I know we're getting rid of the registered to vote, but reside, it seems to me there should be a little bit more skin in the game. You're a resident. If you reside, I have people that reside in along Walker River, and they just move every 14 days. I don't know that I'd want them on the board if they're just staying here a year and passing through to another place. You can reside in Smith Valley and be a resident of California. I'm thinking that it maybe should say must be a resident within the county. Which kind of implies that you are set here, you're possibly registered to vote, you're paying, you have a home, you're doing whatever. And I might just be, going after it in the wrong direction, but I just think that reside, and I think I mentioned that you could be an illegal immigrant here. That would be a problem, I think, in itself. So there's things that I'm looking at that need to be a little bit more involved in the county than just hanging around.
Yeah, so the register to vote thing, from what I remember. I don't think it was from that discussion, but it was from another discussion that we had about the application forms. And I believe that had to be removed due to some state law thing. And I was going to check with the district attorney's office and I didn't have a chance, so I apologize. I should have done that.
We have people that are registered to vote because they can't vote, that are on boards right now. So that was part of the conflict.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember.
I could give you a name real quick, but I don't really do it in.
Yeah, no, that's okay. But yeah, so I mean, that was that. I'm certainly open to suggestions on how we tighten that up.
And just
you gave a couple.
If I may,
Yes,
Commissioner Hockaday on Article 2, Section 1, you could have it worded that the Citizen Advisory Board members must permanently reside within the or not permanently, but primarily reside within the geographic area. Primarily.
Anything to tighten it up? Sign?
Legally reside.
Mhm.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I could say anything to tighten it up.
Hold on.
Even a legal resident.
A homeless person could be legally here.
Yeah.
I mean, then that would be up to the board through the application process.
I'm looking at Article 2 representation, number 1, citizen advisory members must reside. That's kind of already saying you must legally reside already. I don't know that you can go a whole lot further than that. I frankly kind of liked it that be registered to vote within Lyon County, but that I kind of making it a less restrictive issue by just calling for the residency. So I don't know that you have a problem with the reside in. Already you can, if it's the legal residing that you care about.
Just
Am I making myself perfectly unclear?
I'm just gonna say I've had to have the forest department run people out of the canyon after they've been living there for months and months illegally. And then they move over, on the other side and park again, and every 14 days they're around, but they're gonna be a member of the board if they wanted to. I feel like they're gone and we can better stay.
This time.
Yeah.
So we can bring back something else.
Yeah.
We don't have to approve it today. There's no time rush on this.
I'm
trying to get moving forward.
That's what I was just gonna suggest, is perhaps even Andrew and I can talk a little bit about what it might, and now that we have some idea of what your guys' concerns are, we can perhaps word this a little bit better.
Yeah, it's not a problem. Are there any other concerns?
Page 368, just the math, we have the third check mark, email agendas before required, each email agendas 5 days before required posting, which that would be before they're posted, it would be 8 days before the meeting then? Or you want them sent here 5 days before they're actually going to be put on the record?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason for that was that the board had provided direction to me to review and approve all of the agendas, so I need to make sure that I have time to do that. And so if they're sending it to me, we actually had one where we had to cancel. I won't name names, but we had one that we had to cancel because they sent it to me at like 8:30 and needed to be posted at 9. And I was in a meeting, didn't get posted, and I had to send them an email and say, no, this meeting's canceled, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So if you think 5 days is unreasonable, I mean, I just need some time to be able to take a look at it. Make sure, I figured the 5 days gives a little bit of a grace period there too.
Frankly, it should be at least 5 days in my humble opinion. But that doesn't really give him a heck of a lot of time, so 5 days is at least reasonable.
And I just want to be able to explain, because I know that's going to come up. Well, we have to do what? Okay.
And sometimes, most of the agendas come back, and there's not any changes, but every once in a while there is, probably one a month, there's one that needs correction, when we send it back to them and say, hey, can you do this, and that, so.
Sounds good. That's under your discretion anyway, right? So if they can, if someone also, I forgot I was on this or whatever, okay, you still have to do it. I'm not, so it's not a steadfast rule. It's what we should probably govern.
Yeah, I'm not gonna say, no, it wasn't in 8 days before, so.
Commissioner.
That's what I want them to strive to get to.
Commissioner.
I guess the only concern I have is, does this affect their meeting date as far as, look, it shouldn't conflict with any of their meeting, okay.
Pretty much set in stone, the date's in stone, yeah, so I don't think it could.
Yeah.
Did you have any more, Commissioner Hockaday?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Any other ones? I've got one, I don't know what it is anymore. I just noticed, I couldn't find it. We have a rule in 2 weeks, I think it is, to notify if we're gonna get a change of date on there. But what I'd like to see is under the procedures or whatever, best practices, whatever you got in there, to get the advisory boards to look at their dates, set a calendar for the year and in the beginning of the year, because one of the most complicated thing is when they realize that their agenda is going to cut, their meeting is going to be on a holiday. And then they got to postpone it for a week or whatever. And then they got to go with that 2 week thing. If they could just take a look at a calendar in the beginning of the year.
I see.
And set their, if they're going to have a conflict, if it's say they have a meeting on July 4th, they can adjust that right away so that we're all aware and don't have to do that 2 week thing.
Yeah, makes sense. So just basically they approve the calendar at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they can still adjust it if it needs to be, but they should be able to look at the main conflicts.
Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah.
Look, comment first. Seeing none, what kind of motion do you want?
Provide direction, wait, hold on. Yeah, they would.
You just take an action.
I have to see how it was worded.
So if we just take no action, you can just re-agendize it down the road?
We just table it.
Okay, table it to when? That's re-agendize.
I can have this back pretty quick.
Okay. Entertain a motion to table it.
To table item 18B until a future meeting next month in June.
Well, got a motion by Commissioner Hendrick, second by Commissioner Castellani. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes 5-0. Okay, brings us to agenda requests. Any agenda requests? Commissioner Jacobson.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. The presentation only update by the county regarding work towards the RIB situation in the Dayton area.
Any other agendas? I do have a request, and it's not an agenda request, but it's how we handle agendas. That if one of us makes an agenda request and it gets, like if you talk to them and whoever made that, and then it gets postponed out or whatever, it might still be interest of somebody else on the board. So please come back and tell us that you had conversations with them and it was okay to move out, because if someone makes a agenda request and we just all be quiet, we're expecting it.
I can definitely do that because that happens frequently.
Thank you. Commissioners' comments. Any commissioner comments? Participation. Do we have any public participation in the room? Seeing none, it's 1 o'clock. We're adjourned.